let's just do this. Let's just do it. I'm recording on 2 devices today. I have my iPad right here, which is recording on portrait mode, which is best for Instagram, and my cell phone on landscape mode, which is best for YouTube videos. So last night was the launch of the Stepping Stones. What are the Stepping Stones? They are live weekly events inside of the living room in the space that I host, which is called the Self-Love Society. So as you've heard me mention, the living room is an online platform. It's an online community of like-hearted people. The space that I host, again, is called the Self-Love Society. And I have scheduled live weekly events, Wednesdays, 6 to 7 p.m., that are titled The Stepping Stones to Self-Love. And each week, I bring in a new topic of discussion that my hope and intention is that women will begin to cultivate daily intentional practices that help them develop healthy self-love. So last night was the launch, and it was a lot of fun, and I'm really happy that that big step is over with. But this morning, I woke up and I wasn't feeling so good. Besides the humidity here in New England, I was a hot mess. So I did what I usually do, and I began to cultivate curiosity. And I just started to become curious of what was going on within me. And I realized that I was withholding and denying love for myself, that old patterns of behavior were back. So I went to yoga this morning, and I had a lovely was a student in a beautiful yoga practice this morning. And that was absolutely something that I needed to do because I've been on vacation with my husband. And though I love him to death, I needed some separation and I needed to do something for myself. So I went to yoga this morning, and then from there I went and had a pedicure. And while I sat having my pedicure, I wrote in my little journal, trying to capture the essence of everything that I was experiencing this morning in order to share it here as I record these videos. So while I was away, I didn't eat so well. I didn't eat badly. I don't even know how to define whether I was eating well or eating badly, but I was eating, but very different from how I generally eat when I'm at home on my regular schedule. And I know that, I'm not going to jump ahead. So I wasn't eating the way I could have been eating. And what do I want to say about that? I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I keep wanting to jump ahead, so I'm not going to. We got lots of movement in on our vacation. We hiked, we climbed, we swam a lot. We were moving. It wasn't like we went to a beach and we were just sitting there doing nothing. We were active while we were away, and it was great. But I still was telling myself that I ate bad things. On top of that, there was the idea that my daily routine, my daily spiritual routine was thrown off. And my writing practice was thrown off because I was away. So it was those things, those 3 things that have not been the same over, I would say it was like a 4 to 5 day period that were throwing me off. Last night, as I mentioned, I had the first Stepping Stones live event, which was wonderful. But I noticed this morning the rumination, the replaying over and over again about what I could have done differently, what I could have said differently, did I do a good enough job? Which ruminating can be healthy if you're doing it for a period of time where you are learning something about yourself, so then you can do it again or take to the next phase or the next event and be the person I want to be, say the things I want to say. And maybe for me right now, what's coming up is to just be myself rather than trying to force something to happen. But that's just something that came up. Okay, so coming back. So I woke up this morning. And I noticed judgment, and I noticed criticism. I was judging and criticizing myself for not being on the healthiest diet that I could have been, even though I was getting exercise, for not writing as much as I needed to, or I was telling myself I needed to write, for not being so intent on my daily spiritual practices, and telling myself I didn't do a good enough job last night during the first Stepping Stones event. So what generally happens, I wrote down my notes because, again, I wanted to remember everything that was going on so I can share it with you. For me personally, when all this starts to happen, it's because I'm listening to the judge and the critic, and I'm agreeing with what they say. I ruminate, I judge, I criticize myself, and all of that leads to the idea of self-punishment. Because I'm not a kid anymore and I don't have adults around to punish me, I've learned to do it myself. Then I get angry and irritable because I'm not being kind and compassionate and gentle with myself. Instead, I'm criticizing and judging and then punishing myself mentally, verbally, and emotionally. I get angry. I get angry at myself. And then I want to control. I want to control my environment and everyone in it. So for example, when I got to the yoga studio this morning, I texted my husband. It doesn't matter what I said, but the text was me, even though I wasn't home and I was about to go into this beautiful practice, I needed to control something because it helped me to feel safe. So this is what happens when I'm buying into these beliefs that I've done something wrong. There was something else that I wanted to say about that, and now I don't remember what it was, but it was important and will probably come back up. So let's break it down. This is what I wrote in my journal. All right, let's break it down. My performance last night, the food I ate on my vacation, even though I was active and did a lot of hiking and climbing and swimming. My writing practice put on the back burner. My spiritual practices, this is now I'm just remembering what I wanted to say, put on the back burner. All of this, for me, through my personal experience in life, my childhood wounds, my belief systems, my perceptions on life, lead me to abandon and neglect myself. And that is denying and restricting love for myself. So when I abandon myself, when I neglect what's going on within me, then I want to lash out irrationally, and I want to control my environment and everyone in it. So I just became aware of these things, and I was really honest with myself. That's the thing. Cultivating curiosity is one thing, and I strongly recommend cultivating as much curiosity as you can about myself. But then there's the practice of speaking honest truths to yourself, and sometimes they can be really uncomfortable. So I wanted to share with you what I did, the processes, and I've already started to explain that, but explain a little bit more of what I went through. So all of this abandoning, this neglecting, the criticizing, the judgment, the self-punishment, it all equates to the denial or the withholding of compassion, acceptance, happiness, and love for myself. This morning we were asked to set an intention to come up with a word in yoga. And the word that I set an intention with was happiness. Because I can choose to be happy if I want to. Or I can continue to identify with the wounds that are influencing my life in a negative way and buy into what the judge and the critic are saying. And then that leads to, again, the anger, the sadness, the depression, or I can choose to be happy. So what I did, I have 10 steps that I did here. I wrote them out. I acknowledged what I was experiencing. I sat and I asked myself, what's going on? And I cultivated that curiosity. I connected to my inner child and the triggered or wounded parts of myself, and I acknowledged them and their feelings. We have active and alive parts of ourselves that can be triggered, that cause all of this chaos, this hot mess. They're looking for our undivided, non-judgmental, loving attention. And that's what I did. First, I acknowledged what was going on within me, and I labeled it all. I feel angry, I feel irritable, I want to lash out irrationally. I get the critic, I'm hearing the critic, I'm ruminating about last night, blah, 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 blah. And then I turned my attention inwards and I connected with those parts of me. And I offered them some compassion, and I offered them acknowledgement, my awareness of what they were experiencing, and a listening ear. I had an inner conversation with these aspects of myself. I asked them, parts of me, and myself, what they and I needed in that moment. And then I spoke that truth to myself about what it is that I needed. And in that moment, I remember saying to myself, I need to be here for myself. I need to be right here for myself when I need it the most. I need to love myself. And I also needed happiness. I needed to choose to be happy. But I can't just flip a switch. I need to go through the process of understanding what's going on first, and then I can bring in that energy of happiness. Because remember, we don't get more of what we want. We get more of what we are. So if I'm in the frequency or the vibration of the need to control or anger or irritability, I'm sure as hell not going to be manifesting any happiness anytime soon. I need to feel that within me and be in that vibration, and then happiness will make its way to me. As within, so without. I reminded myself that I could choose differently. Choice is power. Our greatest superpower is our ability, our willingness to choose, and to choose differently. I took a morning yoga class, which was awesome. And then I went and got a pedicure. Last time I went, I had orange put on my toenails, and I'll never do that again. Even though I love orange, my skin color does not like orange, so no more orange for me. I decided I wanted to be happy. And all of this led me to offering myself understanding, compassion, acceptance, and love. Because ultimately, that's the goal. Through my own experience, I've come to understand this works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for you. Maybe it does. I don't know. In order for me to learn how to love myself a little bit more every day, I need to be aware of the moments that I'm not loving myself. And today was one of those big moments. Like there was so much going on. It was impossible to ignore. Again, to love yourself more, begin to recognize where you're denying or withholding love for yourself. And that may be in you ruminating over something that you did or said, listening to, buying into, believing the voices of the inner judge and the inner critic, telling yourself you made a mistake. Self-punishment is denying yourself love. So all of these things needed to happen so I could do this recording today, so I could invite you again to come join me in the Self-Love Society, so that someone like you and I, the community of women that are growing there, can talk about these experiences of where we are denying love for ourselves, so that we can bring in the acknowledgement, the acceptance, the approval, the forgiveness, the compassion that ultimately leads to me, you, all of us loving ourselves a little bit more every day. Thanks for listening.